We're live.
Welcome everyone. This is oops. Got a little feedback going on.
High school, yes.
You probably have S6 or S7 there. Set up this week here.
You just fixed it.
No.
Oh, let's express the questions.
You got it? Got it?
Oh, you got it. Control to get up. There we go.
All right.
Well done.
Thank you. Sorry. So welcome.
Controller, all good one.
This is House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. It is 1 o'clock on Friday, January 30th, 2026. And I am Scott Sample, representative from St. Johnsbury. The chair, Beth James, is on her way back to committee. So we will go around and introduce ourselves and then go around the room, as is our custom.
Richard Bailey, Lamoille 2, Michael Southworth, Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howland, Rutland 4.
Dara Torrey, Washington 2.
Ram Kleppner, Chittenden 13, Burlington.
Civilian, 2.
And around the room,
Dina Lee Perry with McCracken Group.
Paige Harder with the Chamber of Commerce.
Landon Wheeler, Division of Fire Safety.
Matt Cotto with Meadow Hill, representing the heating cooling contractors of Vermont.
Paul Shortino, Jeffersonville, Vermont. George Putnam, Cambridge.
great, thank you. And our witness,
I'm Mike DeRosa, the executive director for the Division of Fire Safety, and appreciate the time to come in here and speak with you.
appreciate your coming in. Welcome and look forward to hearing from you. This is regarding Bill 718, H718, a bill that would intended to stimulate compliance with Vermont's energy codes. So take it away, Mike.
All right, so before I dive into this, what I thought I would do is go through each specific section, and I'll kind of explain what the challenges are that we're facing on these, and certainly at any time just ask questions, and if I can't answer them, I brought Landon Wheeler. He's our deputy director, and he's pretty much involved in the code and standard development process, so I lean on Landon for some of the technical aspects here. Just to start off with, the Division of Fire Safety is responsible for plan review and permitting for all construction and renovations of public buildings. In short, everything except your own single-family home and some farms. We have code enforcement, code management of rental housing, health and safety code. We started doing that work on January 1st of 2024. We're responsible for fire service training for career and volunteer. Our fire academy is also pro board accredited. I have the urban search and rescue team, the hazardous material response team, fire investigation, and we also have the electrical licensing board, plumbing board, handicap access board, and the elevator safety board. And I also chair the legislative governance committee that oversees a number of issues down there at the training facility in Pittsburgh, access and use, contracts, that kind of stuff. And capital construction down there. Let's see if I can take this out of this. Okay, the Division of Fire Safety has inspection and permitting authority for buildings defined as public building in statute. Public buildings include everything except your single family owner occupied homes. At this point, we don't have any interest to expand our regulatory authority in the single family owner occupied homes. And the reason I mention this is because in the big landscape of energy efficiency, there'll be some discussions, if there hasn't already been, whether the Division of Fire Safety at some point, whether it's a couple of years down the road or not, whether they expand that jurisdiction into single family home to increase compliance with RVs. I want to explain that there's two major co-development entities that exist in the United States. One of them is NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, and the second one is the International Code Council. These two entities develop all the safety codes that you see going across the country, whether it is earthquake design, seismic design, floor loading, roof loading, how you construct buildings. So there's two of these code development entities that work in that arena. And Vermont has been and is a NFPA and ICC state. So we adopt both standards from NFPA and ICC. This is also the way that most states across the country do this. Through rulemaking, we adopt standards from NFPA and ICC. And to best serve and protect our citizens, we amend those rules while being also mindful of the economic impact we're putting on people versus the safety enhancements that we're providing. And I'll give you a small example. In Vermont, we have some pretty strict carbon monoxide laws in place. And that was because we were having way too many carbon monoxide fatalities. And so the legislature has really supported us in efforts to improve our protection of people with carbon monoxide and smoke alarms. We have gas certification requirements in our rules and so forth. These are specific amendments to these national standards that we use here in Vermont to protect our citizens.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So carbon monoxide alarms, as an example, are Vermont's requirements stricter than the model codes and NFPA and
That they are, all that land and speak to specifically to it.
Historically, they have been. The rest of the nation has caught up to where we are. We are currently adopting, with very few amendments, the nationally recognized code and standard at this point. But starting in 2003, we were very progressive because of what the director mentioned. But at this point, we are about the national average, with the exception that there is state legislation that maintains smoking carbon monoxide detection in properties when they're transferred. And I do believe that that's where we excel. That would be above the national average.
I think. Great, thank you.
So in section 1, under the findings, the statement and 2 states that Vermont has not adopted a residential building construction code, which means there is no administrative infrastructure or enforcement mechanism for implementing energy codes consistently and effectively. So my response to this is the Division of Fire Safety does adopt the International Building Code for residential construction. The broad statement that Vermont has not adopted a residential construction code, I want to clarify that. The division does adopt through rules of the IBC this International Building Code, which applies to all new residential construction of 3 units or more. So what we're having is a gap on a residential building code for 1 and 2 family dwellings, so duplexes. So for everything above a duplex, 3 units and up, we do have a building code for those structures. I just want to clarify that. So it narrows the scope down to these specific entities of 1 and 2 family dwellings. Buildings under the authority of fire safety, we do not adopt the International Residential Building Code, which is referred to as the IRC, which applies only to 1 and 2 family dwellings. I just want to let the committee know that there is national debate going on right now with the ICC and other states in the rulemaking process where they are trying to raise the number of units that would fall under the International Residential Building Code. So they're talking about allowing up to 4 units. And you could build that in compliance with the IRC, or maybe you could do 6 units and build to the IRC. That is debate is going on right now, and I don't know whether ICC will fundamentally amend the IRC nationally to say if you adopt this standard, the applicability of it extends into more multiple story buildings. I don't know the answer to that.
Does IRC only apply that, just to clarify, IRC only applies to single family and duplex?
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so on the 1 and 2 families, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's going to be discussion about whether Vermont should adopt the IRC and enforce the IRC as a building code on 1 and 2 families. So I just want to lay out like the foundation here. So on a 1 and 2 family dwelling now, we do require construction permit applications, electrical and plumbing work notices. So all that infrastructure work is being done by certified folks. We, structural and floor and roof assemblies are stamped by usually lumber companies. They have engineers that stamp the truss designs and the floor designs. Normally on a duplex, we get that documentation in the planning process. And then we require certified gas and oil heat techs to do any of the heating system installs in those 1 and 2 family dwellings. So those 1 and 2 family dwellings are inspected by our electrical inspector, plumbing inspector, and our fire marshal. So there is oversight on the 1 and 2 family dwellings. It's that we do not have a residential building code specific to 1 and 2 family dwellings. And so that is accurate. So section 2, the adoption of the residential building code. My response to this was the division opposes, number 1, creating an exempt building code administrator. This is the first I've heard of this. And I have no idea what this position is or how we would fund it or what it means. I don't know what it means. So I can't, maybe it's to say we're trying to help fire safety with any potential workload being added to us. I don't know. Right now, the division strongly opposes the adoption of the International Residential Building Code by January 1st to 2028. That would be where fire safety in this bill requires us to adopt the IRC. We need more time to assess and evaluate. There are major business flow issues and many amendments that would have to be made before considering this. Now, I'm going to take responsibility for the slowness in the evaluation of adopting the IRC, because this process has been going on for about a year now, maybe even a little longer than a year. I assembled a group of stakeholders, and just because of the workload, I have been lagging on making this a real heavy priority. But we have done a lot of work in this area. We have a document now which shows if I adopted the IRC, here's basically what the format of that particular standard would look like. And it's just not ready for prime time. It still needs some work to be done on it. So behind the scene here, in conversations with Brett Campbell and Public Service, I would be willing to commit to a time frame on getting a recommendation on whether we should adopt the IRC into this committee by January, no later than January 15th of 2027, right?
Yeah, next year, yes.
So that would give me a year to get the stakeholders and allow me to spend a little more time to focus on this. I could spend the next 3 hours just talking about the IRC and what the challenges are with this. But it's very complex, and it's not just as easy as saying fire safety, adopt this. For example, the whole entire energy efficiency standard would be deleted from the IRC because it conflicts with Public Service Board's energy efficiency rules. Because we're both an NFPA and ICC state, the whole entire standard, the IRC has numerous references to the NFPA standards. And we would have to mesh all this through the IRC and make it so that people understand it. Another major hurdle is the IRC requires sprinklers of 1 and 2 family dwellings. The IRC requires that plans be submitted to us by a design professional. Under 26 VSA, architects don't have to stamp drawings until they get to 3 units or more.
I'm sorry, Director. Did I understand you to say that the IRC would require that a single family home would have to be sprinkled?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, 1 and 2 family. And
But if I could interject, that is the kind of requirement that's in IRC that might be adjusted in the process
Right.
of Vermont adopting it.
like what it would do is be evaluated, and then there's conditions in the IRC that probably say, and Landon, you may chime in, if you're not going to put this sprinkler in, it doesn't come out and say that, but what it does is it offers equivalencies, like you don't have to sheetrock the ceiling of your basement. You don't have to do A, B, C, and D because you put this residential sprinkler in this duplex. Well, if we exempt that, are we going to go back and enforce those other equivalencies that are no longer there because the building's not sprinkled? And the sprinkler was required for 2 reasons, mainly because we were having a lot of premature floor ceiling assembly collapses, and to protect people from fire.
Yeah.
There's that's just the touch,
Yeah.
a little touch on what has to be evaluated in the big picture.
But this is the process that you would be going through in the next
Yes.
year, right? It's figuring out what the conflicts are and what would need to be made in order to adopt the IRC. And the next line in this section is the residential building code. I'm in section 2A. The residential building code shall be based on the International Residential Code. Is that accurate? Is that
Wait, I'm sorry.
Sure. The second line in section 2A is the residential building code that DFS would be adopting shall be based on the International Residential Code. Is that accurate to say?
Right.
And I'm sorry, can I ask one more thing about sprinkler systems? Would this only be for new construction, or would
Yes.
we be looking to import?
It would be for new construction, and that's another whole presentation on the benefits of having domestic sprinkler systems. Lower insurance rates. A lot of the rural developments that are occurring right now, when you have 20 minutes, 30-minute response times by the fire departments that are struggling right now with resources, you're putting very minimal gallons per minute out. We've actually had some youth saves here recently, and these 2 high-rise buildings here in Vermont just in the past 3-4 months. We've had sprinkler head activations because of fires down in Rutland, 10-story high-rise down there. Yeah. Where single sprinkler head or 2 sprinkler heads have extinguished the fire, saved the occupants, and the buildings were allowed to be reopened. So with hundreds of units in capacity. So of course, we like to promote sprinklers, and then there's the economic component to that we face too.
Sure.
In section 3, there's grant funding language. The Commissioner of Public Safety shall seek grant funding, federal and private, to support the adoption of the IRC. The division doesn't need funding to pursue or assess whether to recommend the adoption of the IRC, and we don't need funding to adopt it, should we? A little side note is we have been very cautious not to build programs off grants, because, as you all know right now, federal grants are a disaster. And, I'm just thankful, at least in our division, because that's the avenue we've, chosen. We're able to survive through all this, delay of federal grants and all that stuff. We did receive a brick grant though, of $1.4 million, and we did receive the award announcement. However, that 1.4 million was taken back by the current administration. There's been lawsuits. There was recently a court ruling that stated that funding had to be released. That, of course, that's being appealed. But the 1.4 million I did budget in the makeup of that grant. There's like 400,000 or something toward training. And my vision at that point when we did this grant application was that we would help with awareness and education and training for our inspectors and energy efficiency contractors and that kind of stuff. So we could pretty easily distribute educational material and build partnerships around that. I would love to get my hands on that grant. There was also some record management system upgrades that would also be beneficial for the energy efficiency sector. Okay, section 4, residential contractor regulation task force. Well, I'm not a huge fan of task force. But I understand where everyone's coming from with this. And so out of this, I'm not going to oppose this. I'm just going to, I will add that for awareness, the structure of the task force does not reflect a member from the Associated General Contractors. I think there should be a member of that association on here.
Although this bill is really pitched at residential construction, and AGC is principally concerned with or involved in commercial, but there is overlap certainly.
Yeah, so I just raised that as a section 5, requirements for registrants. This is really out of my wheelhouse, but I want to bring this up. And so a person registered under this chapter shall, prior to executing a contract pursuant to subsection B of this section, provide a client with a written disclosure of any prior criminal convictions, adverse civil judgments, and violations pursuant to section 5510 of this title. Although not my wheelhouse, I would think this might discourage contractors from registering. I don't have expertise in there. The only reason I mention this is a number of years ago, we were here at the legislature debating whether electricians, plumbers, gas techs, oil techs, and all these folks should have criminal background checks done before we could issue them a license or certification. And those bills just never had a whole lot of movement to them. So I don't know what the impact to that is. I don't know whether that's going to be somehow tied into licensing and certification language, or it's pretty broad in its context, I guess is what I'm getting at. Since I license and certify thousands of trade professionals, I just wanted to raise this because I don't know if there's a nexus behind here that I'm not aware of. That's all.
I would just comment that section 5510 in title 26 is about it's entitled prohibitions and remedies. So a person who does not register may be subject to sanctions. OPR may discipline a registrant for unprofessional conduct, and there's a list of certain conduct that what constitutes unprofessional conduct. And I think that's it. that would be involved.
Section 6, required education for specified licensee state energy goals. Okay, this is going to take me a couple minutes to explain. The current energy goal module is housed in the Division of Fire Safety. In 2020 legislative session, S-220 was signed into law requiring many trade professions to complete a Vermont Energy Goals education module. The law required the Department of Public Service, in consultation with the Agency of Natural Resources, to develop an educational module describing Vermont's energy goals. The new law applies to the following trades listed below: licensed electricians, licensed plumbers, oil and gas appliance technicians, and commissioned boiler inspectors. Back in 2020, I made a recommendation not to include commissioned boiler inspectors in this because the boiler inspectors inspect boilers and pressure vessels. They do not inspect hot air furnaces. And boiler inspectors are different than heating technicians, right? They go in and they look at the boiler from an explosion hazard. So they're looking at relief valve capacity, you know, in relation to the BTU input ratings on the appliances, making sure everything is in compliance with the National Boiler Code. I don't know what the nexus is to the commission boiler inspectors and the energy efficiency component. They are very tuned in to the pressure side of these pressure vessels. And I don't know, Landon, if you want to add to that, or.
I think that's a great summary, sir.
Well, the nexus is probably pretty narrow, but it could be combustion air required by a combustion appliance, by a boiler, that is then potentially depressurizing the space in which it's located, and what effect that would have on.
So that would be covered by the line above that, by the oil and the gas technicians that service that equipment, or the manufacturer's instructions, or by state law every 2 years.
Okay,
So, or by our rules every 2 years.
so maybe we could remove the boiler inspectors from this requirement.
I just wanted to toss that out there that I see the opportunity here. But here's just a little distance. All the trades impacted by S-220 from the 2020 law, all these trade professionals have education requirements. When this law was passed, we had very little time to push the module out to the thousands of trade professionals. The only way we could accomplish this without creating a wholesale failure of our licensing program was to incorporate the module into all our continuing ed classes for renewals and provide a standalone module for all our trade professionals, including those who have reciprocity and universal licensing with us, including military. This initiative required all the continuing education providers to amend their curriculum, and we had to run this through the boards to make this work. So, real quickly, oil and gas technicians, they renew every 3 years and require 8 hours of continuing education. 2 of those hours must be carbon monoxide prevention and the energy efficiency module. Electricians, 15 hours every 3 years, must take the energy efficiency module. Plumbers, 8 hours every 2 years, including the energy efficiency module. When all these trade people take continuing ed classes, most of them are hold updates. So if we're doing a good job, we amend our rules roughly every 3 years. That's when the codes by ICC and NFPA are amended every 3 years. The industry likes us to adopt these standards when the new ones come out because of all the new technology and the difference in systems and equipment. So in this particular bill, the initial bill in 2020 had a 2-hour maximum time frame on that. Well, we couldn't fit a 2-hour education module in the time frame we had in order to make sure our thousands of trade professionals were going to renew their license in time. So the existing module is outdated. I support it having to be redone, and it should be redone. And my concern is that since there's no more maximum time frame on this, we could end up having to expand the continuing ed hour requirements on our trade professionals, depending on the longevity of this energy efficiency module once it's redone. And to go through rulemaking and the pushback that we're going to get on extending our continuing ed hours is going to be tremendous. That's going to be a tremendous pressure that's going to be put on us. This is and I testified on this in 2020. My personal opinion is that this energy efficiency education module should not be connected to licensing and certification. It is an extremely heavy lift. It's a lot of work for us, and we would support participating and creating a new education module. And we can definitely, through our partnerships with our stakeholders, disperse an educational module that people can take, and they would get a lot more out of this 4-slide program they're looking at right now, because I'm actually embarrassed at what we have up there right now. So I'm not supporting the one we have now. We just have our hands tied on where our business flow operates within all our trade professions, and the sheer volume of our continuing ed providers and stuff to make this system work. And I don't know, I'm not going to put you on the spot, Matt, but if you want to join in, feel free.
Well, I have one comment before you do, and I'm wondering if maybe it would make more sense to have that an energy efficiency module be delivered by a training organization that already does some sort of thing. So Efficiency Vermont, perhaps AGC, perhaps Efficiency Vermont might be the best locus for something like that.
If it's okay with the chair, Matt Cotto with Meadow Hill, on behalf of the Heating Cooling Contractors of Vermont, we are that training agency. We train over 1,000 heating techs every year.
Yep.
We train them on the energy efficiency module as required by law. But the idea that we are going to add more than 8 hours, think about it. You're in Bennington and you're coming to our classroom in Montpelier. You've got 2 hours on the road plus 8 hours that you're required to be in that classroom. Your employer is paying overtime and you're spending 10 hours not fixing things. So,
well, the bill doesn't specify a time amount for the energy module, because as written, it just removes the 2-hour maximum. That is all. I don't know what the appropriate amount of time is. It probably varies from trade to trade, but it's so.
I mean,
I don't have a position, and I certainly don't want to add, to the burden. But the point is to make the energy efficiency module relevant to the work that is being done by the people who are out in the field, right?
Right. Yeah. A lot of these folks now receive energy efficiency training in their continuing ed now, and especially for manufacturers of equipment and so forth that they're out installing. So by default, they're picking up this energy efficiency education. What I'm trying to relay here is that when you take and make this a nexus to licensing and certification, when you're dealing with, I think across the whole landscape here, you're in several thousand folks. And you've got to imagine how we're trying to sync this with our renewal process in our RMS system to ensure there's a certificate. They've attended this class, they've done A, B, C, and D. And, that's why initially the 2-hour max was put on there. And our existing module that sits now on our homepage, as much as I don't like it, it was deliberate. Right? It was set up the way it was so that our continuing ed providers, and we have a lot of them, could build this into their existing continuing ed curriculum without submitting all new curriculum to us for approval and all this stuff in a very short turnaround time. And you all didn't get complaints, so we rolled this out pretty seamlessly. But it was not an easy lift. So I just,
So suppose we strike the 2 hour, the section that strikes, the 2 hour, maximum. Would that be, make it more acceptable?
what I agree to is that the existing education module right now is a waste of time. It was made in 2020. We've already gone through all our renewal cycles. People are taking the same exact education module again. It's outdated. I will sit here and say it needs to be redone. I would like language that would allow working with your constituents that know the energy efficiency, public service, whatever, and just allow us the flexibility to redo this existing module and let us determine through all our stakeholders and constituents the time frame so that we don't have to go through rulemaking, try to change the hours on continuing ed, that we can do this as seamless as possible for the sake of all our trade professions, but provide them a much better education message than what we're providing now.
I think we're on the same page here. So,
And we can do this by providing links on our education module where on their time, we can provide links where they can go and learn more. And we're more than happy to house all this stuff. I'm just trying to make this as smooth as possible for our trade professions and to meet your intent also.
Representative Clevin?
Yeah, so you're suggesting that it gets pulled out of the requirement for relicensing, pulled out of the in-person daytime session, and can be delivered remotely online somehow or other at, I'm just wondering, some people will do it if it's not incorporated in something they have to do otherwise. Some people won't. And, do you have any thoughts about how we ensure the most up-to-date energy efficiency information gets to all the people doing the work?
If you allow us the flexibility and the time on this and allow us to work with our trade professions, and we can come up with a educational module that doesn't disrupt the current system like it does now, I would support that. If we can't do that, or I guess if the legislature is not willing to do that and they want to see a longer and more emphasis put on the delivery of an energy efficiency module, then I would say just be aware of what the consequences are on my end, please. And then we're going to have to do some rulemaking to address that. I would rather do it like we have now, use the same RMS setup we have now for the most part. We're building a new RMS system, so things will change a little bit, but be able to
record management system.
Right.
Yeah.
To be able to deliver this without disrupting the whole entire continuing ed process.
So could I just ask about specifics? So if I'm looking at section 6 in the bill now, this is on page 80 of the bill. If we just eliminated where it strikes out on line 18, shall not be more than 2 hours. If we eliminated that strikeout, and then at the bottom of the page where it says the module shall, and then new languages, explain how the work of the profession or trade intersects with the energy codes and affects the energy, airflow, and moisture management dynamics of the building as an integrated system. And that's the new language. Is that new language acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would you want to chime in?
I do. I really think that the director is trying to explain the position of these tradespeople are, when we adopt new codes and standards, they are put through continuing education
Mhm.
that captures new innovations, new technologies, new energy efficiency goals that are nationally recognized codes and standards that are built into each one of these trades. So there's, from a trade perspective, is there an intersection where they have to work together and they have to have more general knowledge with, say, a building's development? There is, but the director stating that they're already getting this in a form of their regular required training. What we're doing should either be something specific to the needs of the state and the constituents, or the understanding should be made that we're already capturing this through updating our codes and standards for each one of those individual trades. Plumbing, electrical, gas, and oil, and boiler really doesn't belong there.
And I hear you about boiler, and I'm certainly willing to make an amendment that would remove boiler, the commission boiler inspectors. But I guess what I was trying to get at with this added language was how the work of each trade affects the building as an energy system, as an integrated energy system. And that is a little different. It's not trying to make energy auditors out of every heating tech, but it is trying to expose them to what an energy auditor might see when they go on site to a building, and the kinds of things that they look at. So that's what I was trying to get at with this language. If there's a better way of saying it, I'd certainly be open to that.
Yeah, I think there probably could be a little different language. I don't have it on the top of my head right
Yeah.
now, but what I'm seeing here is you have the envelope of a structure, and there's a building science component to the construction of the envelope of this structure.
Yes.
That an electrician's not going to be involved in the construction of the envelope of this building as it relates to ventilation.
No, but they might be hooking up the range hood or the downdraft, generator downdraft, the second 450 cubic feet of air at maximum airflow. What effect does that have on some other part of the building? On the apocryphal story is it sucks the fire from the fireplace across the rug. So that's an example of the dynamic that perhaps an electrician might not be aware of. And really that's all I would try to get at was, let's make folks aware of how the work that they're doing affects the whole building.
Yeah.
I try to get at it with this language. I'm open to
Yeah, and I'm open to, I like the fact if you take out and put back in the 2-hour maximum at least.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to, I am certainly willing to work with a group of folks and sit down and design an energy efficiency module that doesn't disrupt and force me into rulemaking and adding continuing ed hours onto all our folks. And, our licensing and certification programs are complex. We are accepting licenses through reciprocity to bring more trade professionals in here. We just signed an agreement here not long ago with the New England National Reciprocity Electrical Association. 8-9 states that adopt the same codes we do. If you're an electrician in that state for more than a year and good standings, we can accept their license here. During natural disasters, we can bring these people in. It's a huge benefit to the citizens of Vermont. And so when we tie these energy efficiency things into all this, it is we have done a tremendous amount of work to keep our license renewals going in proper order here for the trade profession. So
Yeah.
that's all I would add.
Ask another question, Director. So in the example that Mr. Coda gave us, someone driving up from Bennington to here to do 8 hours of training. Does that include the current energy efficiency module that you don't love?
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, okay, so it includes that. So
Right. So what we did is we didn't change the continuing ed hours for these trade professionals. We didn't add hours.
yeah,
We allowed the continuing ed providers to build that in. So we couldn't make this a long energy efficiency module because it was taking time away from specific safety training that those trade professions were receiving in that class to start with.
got it. So an updated one that delivered up-to-date, useful information, you feel would take more time than the one that we're getting now.
Well, I'm skeptical whether it would or not. If the language allows us to redo this education module and update it and fit it into our existing business flow process that we have right now, then I don't have any really any objection with this, but I would just go back to the fundamentals of this too. So what I'm saying is I can support that, but on the other side, I think since I'm here in front of the committee is to take a look at whether this nexus to the license and certification as we move through this energy efficiency discussion, whether that's where it should sit. Is that what we should be doing, tying the education module to licensing and certification? And I would throw that to the committee as a question. And well, I guess what I'm getting at is if we're going to stay the status quo, let's get this module redone so at least our trade people aren't feeling they're sitting down and wasting their time by going through this, that we provide them a meaningful education module that I'm more than happy to do all the logistical stuff to make sure this thing will flow. But I'd be more than happy to lend a hand with that.
Also, along those lines, this at the top of page 9 here, it says education on any state or utility incentive relevant to the profession. The operative word there being relevant to the profession. The next A and B are struck out in the bill because what they're talking about is general information on the energy goals and updates on the energy goals and any energy programs. Those kinds of, and in fact, what I did go and look at the module as it exists now, and I agree with you in your characterization of it as really inadequate. And what it discusses is actually the statute, and of course, statute is difficult for people who aren't familiar with reading statutes, difficult to read and sort of make sense out of. So I was in my proposed bill here trying to just eliminate that language and let's just say it's got to be information that's relevant to the work of the person in the profession and trade. So how do you feel about eliminating those A and B on at the top of page 9?
Yeah, I don't have it actually right in front of me because I have one
Well,
PowerPoint open.
yeah. Well,
If you're willing to. I took it. Thank you. Which line, sir?
He said A and B,
yeah, lines 3 through 7.
A and B on page 9, right at the top. It's already got lines through it now.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. I'm asking the director how he feels about striking that language. The intention being to focus it not on sort of abstract goals, but on concrete work that the trade or profession is involved in.
Thank you, sir. I mean, you can leave it striped out because, we're gonna work with whomever on designing this energy efficiency module. And, you know, if your language in that section allows us the flexibility to participate in this, in the making of this energy efficiency module, we can steer that, discussion.
So maybe we should be in touch next week about if you have thoughts about a better language for how to express what we've been talking about here. Okay, that's great. So this is the last slide of your presentation, and the other sections here, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all basically repeats of this language and other sections of statute affecting other professions. So not relevant to Division of Fire Safety. So is that, did you have any other thoughts, Mike, or?
No, I know I spent some time on this education module, but I think I think it's important. It's just for something that sounds so basic, the impact on thousands of people that run through our licensing program is, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You know, it might not sound it on the front end, but on the back end of this, it's a tremendous amount of work that's imposed on us, and I'm not sure. I don't like what we have there now, so I'm kind of at your mercy on that one. I don't like the program that's there now. So.
Well, and I think those are the only parts of the bill that are really relevant to the division, as I say. And does anybody have any other questions? I'm sort of taking over here. I'm sorry.
No.
Landon, do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't, unless there's some follow-up questions that we can answer. I'm here to support.
Well, the sooner we end, the sooner we can get out of the hot room.
I know, it's really hot.
I was wondering if it was just me.
No, it's so
You're in
hot.
the hot seat. That's it.
We're gonna set off the.
I enjoy the opportunity to come up and speak with y'all. I appreciate what you do, and it was nice catching up with some of you here as we're sitting here. So thank you for that, for the time today.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you very much.
you.
Alex, let's stay on live.
Okay.
And we'll just take a beat for folks to shuffle along, and then I just wanted to have a quick committee look ahead at next week's agenda.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Mike. And
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna get the agenda posted soon. But just so folks can kind of prep and look ahead and stay in touch with me about what needs to get done.
Thank you.
On Tuesday afternoon, we have our budget hearing with the Agency of Digital Services. That's a joint meeting with Senate institutions. And so we will be, I think, looking forward to their presentation for sure, because I think when we had our joint meeting and they were presenting their annual report, we definitely got some hints that there's some things that are different about the ADS budget this year and where IT spends. You can leave that open for sure. Yeah. Where IT spends are being, tucked away in the budget. And so I just want to make sure folks are ready and know that we've got an important budget hearing on Tuesday afternoon. with ADS. And then in terms of the budget, so we've heard from DPS. We will have heard from ADS. We heard from the Community Broadband Board, and we have PUC coming in next week. And those are our 4 areas. So I feel like we're making good progress on our budget work. Then we've got 3 bills circling the runway here that I would really like to vote out next week. So H527, that's our cell tower bill. And last we heard on that, we heard testimony from Will Dodge. He said he was going to send some thoughts that, he thought might help us move forward with balancing the interests of, our cell providers and our interest in public transparency and public engagement. So he sent some stuff. It's posted on our website in the H527 folder under his name, Will Dodge. And we've also sent it to Ellen, to our own ledge council. And since this is Rep. Sebelia's bill and she's going to be reporting it on the floor, she's going to work with Ellen to bring an updated draft to committee that we hope takes into account everybody's thoughts and everything we're trying to achieve.
So what's the timeline for a new draft?
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, Ellen's got it right now.
Yeah, Ellen's working on it.
So I should send you my list now.
Yeah.
Different bill. Unless, are you talking about the cell tower bill?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I mean, funnel stuff through Sebelia, but we're trying to look at a draft of this on Tuesday.
I believe Ledge Council works on Mondays.
Yeah. So I'm just letting everybody know, like, that's currently what I'm
Yeah, I mean,
thinking.
if you have a list, absolutely, that'd be good to know.
Compiled from all the stuff we've heard, so maybe you've already got it, but
Okay.
I have a list, which I will send you as soon as we're done here.
Sounds good. And obviously, if we're not ready, we move stuff, but I am really trying to, kind of put a wrap on some of these bills that we've been taking so much testimony on. So I've got tentatively, maybe to look at that draft, walk through it, have Ellen walk us through everything, show us all of that on Tuesday. Then, the consolidated bill, the copper bill, Fidium fiber bill,
Is that the committee bill?
the committee bill, yeah, 260726. We are gonna have to move that, Alex, sorry.
That's okay.
I had that scheduled for a vote on Wednesday, but Wednesday's when we're hearing back from Hunter. So Hunter's gonna get us some thoughts. So, we're gonna need to see his thoughts, have those incorporated into the draft and do a walkthrough. So Alex, if you could move that to see if you can fit it in on Thursday afternoon. That might be optimistic, but that might give us a chance to get some material from Hunter, everybody take a look at it, and get an updated draft.
The only time slot we have is from 10:30 to 11. It's the only open time we have on.
Yeah,
For a draft for Maria?
put that at, put that at 2:00 on Thursday. We'll be aspirational.
2:00.
Mhm.
Okay, did you want to move the H710 vote?
Yeah, just put it there for now and then, the single plant bill, Rep. Southworth is working with Ellen.
I sent you an update from her
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what she said. Anyway,
Tuesday. She would have the language.
great. So, we'll find time maybe we can find time on Tuesday. I think we would have time. So why don't we try to walk through 710 on Tuesday with Ellen, and then we'll schedule a vote, later in the week. So anyway, just so you guys know, like I said, this is could be realistic, could be aspirational, but I want to keep warning those votes and walkthroughs so that we can just keep pushing those bills to the finish line. Then we're going to start walking through H740. That's the greenhouse inventory bill. We've got, I'm the sponsor on that, so I'll intro it, walk through it. Ellen will walk us through it. And then we have Secretary Moore and Jane Lazorchak coming in to talk more about it. We are taking testimony on the disconnections and ratepayer protections bill that Rep. Torrey walked us through today. We're going to have just a walkthrough and some introductory testimony on Rep. Sebelia's data center siting bill. And a little bit more testimony on the energy code bill. So that's the current thought. We'll get the agenda posted before too long. There's still some polls to fill. I've asked Rep. Morrow if he can get me a witness list on the net metering bill so we can think about that. I just emailed you. And then on the 14th of February, that is when the decommissioning report is coming out on Yankee. And I had in my mind that we would start learning about nuclear power, like the current future state of nuclear power, by starting with our own plant, Yankee. And so we've been in touch with Commissioner Johnson and the chair of INDICAP, the decommissioning citizens advisory panel. And so that'll probably be that week after. And then at that point, I think we're going to need to, by the middle of next week or the end of next week, I think we need to take a really hard look at how many weeks are left before crossover, our pace, how many bills we think we can try to move before crossover, and which bills are going to have to, not move before crossover. So I've got a few of mine that I know we're going to be out of time. So I just want to let you know.
I emailed you about Senator Morley wanted to speak with you.
Okay.
That's on, I believe that's 202, I think it's 202.
Portable.
Forge Solar.
Oh, yeah.
That bill's coming to us from the Senate. Betsy Ann has it now. So
Yep.
it'll be coming in here sooner than later. But he had some concerns he wanted to bring up.
Great. Have him reach out to me.
Yeah,
That is,
Yeah, I don't have contact with him. He just walked in.
okay. Thank you. Thank you for relaying the message.
Yeah.
202, S202, I'm not feeling time pressure on because we can take it up after crossover. I'm feeling the crush of like our bills. So when 202 gets here, I know we'll need to take a ton of testimony. I think I'm super excited about the bill, but I think there's some things they didn't have a chance to work through on the Senate side, plug-in solar. Okay, so everybody just be thinking about timing. Crossovers March 13th. That's when we need to get our bills out. So be thinking about what you think that we need and want to get done in the next 6 weeks or whatever that is. And in the meantime, I'm thinking about our committee pace and whether we can move faster, but I just don't know if we can. We're not a shove it out the door kind of team, so I'm not really sure.
We have 6 weeks left and we're already finished 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's not very long.
Yeah, it's not very long. So, and we're gonna need to think too about the 718, the energy code bill. That will definitely go to Denver next. So if we wanna get something to them in time for them to take a look at it. So one thing I'll do is talk to Chair Mahali about whether they're planning to take it up.
And I feel like we're close with the administration in the person of the agencies and departments that have to look at it. So, but we're going to hear from others. So I'm hopeful that this is something that we can all agree on. This is not a big change to current practice, but we're trying to make it a little more relevant and inspire a little more voluntary compliance with energy codes, which are in fact mandatory.
Okay, I don't know if I missed anything, but that's currently what I'm thinking. And I know sometimes I seem impatient, but I feel like as a team, we want to get bills out. And so I'm never trying to cut off conversation, but I am trying to get bills out the door. So, Rep. Southworth?
Are there any other bills on the wall that you would be open to taking up and discussing?
Which one are you thinking about?
In particular, H 287.
287, is that that's last year's bill?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Clean Energy Standard,
No, that's a consortium on nuclear power feasibility.
So is that Hooper's bill?
It is Hooper's bill.
Yeah.
so let's talk about that. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the big,
289.
I thought you were talking about 289.
I would not do that to you because I already know that answer.
So I took me. So yeah, let's talk about that. So you and I had talked to Rep. Southworth about this maybe being the vehicle for some of our conversations around the future of nuclear power.
Right.
I have we could do that. So here's what I'm kind of thinking. And I know we're live on YouTube, and I always hate to roll out kind of unvetted thoughts, but when you take a bill off the wall and it moves, so we're looking for something we want to try to move right before crossover.
That's
The title of the bill doesn't change. So even if we strike everything in this out to make it bigger and better or whatever it is we want, it still remains conducting a feasibility study of reintroducing nuclear power generation in Vermont. And I would like us to think broader. So reintroducing nuclear power generation in Vermont, that would be a study on siting new nuclear power plants in our state, which I think is not only controversial, but it limits the scope of what this bill could do. What I've been wondering about, and I don't know if we can get committee buy-in, and I don't know if we can get the money for it, but I would love to see us take really thoughtful testimony about the future of energy generation and power supply in Vermont on a broader scale. So I would like to see a task force, not just asking DPS to look at something and come back to us, but a broader task force that would have representatives from DPS, from some of our energy advocates, maybe a couple members of the legislature. So like maybe a broader stakeholder group or a broader group of, maybe some technical expertise to take a look at what's the future of nuclear power, period. Not just citing it, but the SMR technology. What's the timeline? What are the upsides? What are the downsides? What about spent fuel? What do we do with that? So there's so many more things. There's so many more questions I have.
so it wouldn't be limited to just.
It wouldn't be limited to that.
Yeah.
And then I wonder about well, as long as we're talking about that, what's the future of offshore wind? What's going to happen with our Hydro-Quebec contracts?
Or the next generation biomass too.
Yeah, what's up with biomass?
Yeah.
So I've been asking around to people how expensive is it to get a task force going? Because this is not a big money year, right? Like, I know one of the big concerns with, I feel like the greenhouse gas registry is so important to try to do thoughtful climate planning, and we have an $800,000 price tag on it. So I'm doing some thinking about like, all right, can we do that for less money? Can we take that step, and do it cheaper? So I'm thinking, how much does a task force cost? And if you populate it with folks who are largely doing that as part of their paid job, we don't pay for that. We don't have to appropriate for that. If you put a couple legislators on, that's a little bit of money for our per diems, but it's not much. And so this could be a really cost efficient way that we could maybe even get across the finish line this year and ask these folks to do real work, substantive work that either is due back to the legislature in December, or maybe their work continues. Maybe it isn't just a one-time thing, a one-time study. Maybe they stand up for a year and a half or something. So I'll probably deeply regret talking on YouTube about just an idea I'm having. But what's occurred to me is, can we do better than this? Can we rally our support behind a committee bill and see if we can get something going that we think would be of more value? So, and if this is all we want to do, we could move this too, but I think that this has some problematic limitations.
No, I kind of like the idea that you have.
Great taking conference.
Yeah, sorry. That was a long monologue, but I've just been trying to encapsulate, I know there's a lot of interest in this, in this room to learn more about nuclear power and to have that conversation, so that we don't have blinders on about the future. I think folks know here, I've got a lot of reservations about the clean energy standard, about whether those savings are worth blowing the lid off the, whether it's enough money to save fast enough. If that's something we're also looking at in a broader sense, I don't know. I'm not trying to block conversations in this room. I'm trying to get good work done. I'm feeling like we're running out of time. So that's why I'm also sort of taking this reset to say, like, what do we think we can get out of here before crossover? What bills really matter to people? And so I can put my cards on the table. I care a lot about the greenhouse gas registry. I'm trying to find a way to do that cheaper. And I'm very interested in some kind of a task force. And I'm willing to let my other stuff fritter away into the end of the biennium.
Yeah. So I really like the idea that you put on the table. I am very sensitive and feeling we've got a lot of things and not a lot of time, and we like to do a lot of work. I think there's a way to do this kind of simply. I think the suggestion that you've made makes sense. I feel like it's very important for Vermont to, and I'm certain that our friends in the administration and our friends in the transmission and utility world are thinking about this, but the legislature needs to keep up. We are in a really dynamic space. And so thinking about all types of energy, I'm not super excited about fossil fuels, but, biomass, nukes, and making sure that we are thinking and making sure we have enough. We're all concerned about affordability. Alongside of that, one of the reasons that this feels very urgent to me is the unmitigated growth of large loads in our country and what that is doing to power supply. So I also would like to work really hard to try and land something on data center siting. Rather than just have that happen to Vermont. And I am cognizant that could be a very complicated bill. So I am working to try and really pull in something that is simple and doable. I'm working with Senator White, who many of you know had introduced a moratorium, and a number of other folks to see if there's something simple that we can pull together that allows us to be proactive and not let things happen to us. So, and Madam Chair, I would love to work with whomever you might want to try and pull together this task force, a proposal for this committee.
I'm already working on it.
Well,
yeah.
there you go.
So
So we'll
I'm,
funnel ideas to you.
yeah, I'm happy. I will take the lead on that. You've got a lot of big other bills on your plate. And funnel ideas to me. All I've started is talking to some people like about what does it take to get a task force up and running? What does it cost? You know, and what you want to look at is, who sits on it. So, right. So like commissioner of DPS or designee, you know,
FPR,
um,
FPR.
okay. Yeah. So we want a list, of who's on that. You want an odd number of people, for votes,
Not just odd people.
and you want odd people. You want not too many people. And it's funny, I've worked on so many bills, you would not believe the way committees can bog down in fighting over who's on the list. So, I mean, you wouldn't even believe it. It makes you want to rip your hair out. Whether we want it to be time limited or be more of a permanent thing, you know, the task force on the, I don't know. And then really picky things like if they're going to do real work, they need some staff support. You know, and not, you know, it costs money, but it doesn't cost, and then we need to think about money.
But I liked what you said before. If it's already done in conjunction with the current positions, that saves money.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, the legislators you have to pay for, but our per diem, as we all know, is not that big of a deal. So that is what I'm thinking about the next 5 weeks, 6 months.
Thank you. I appreciate your thought.
Yeah. So anyway, get thoughts to me. If everybody is, if no one's opposed, you know, I can just draft a drafty draft task force thing and we can just look at it. You know, all I know is the broad outlines of how one drafts a task force, and we'll just do it as a committee bill. Okay, so get thoughts to me on any other things. And we're gonna have to do some hard thinking about what bills we have the capacity to move out of here and how quickly we're willing to work to move bills.
I like the idea. Good.
All right, we can go off live. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yep.
What happened?